If you are trying to escape financial stress, is it better to chase a life-changing jackpot or walk away while you still have your dignity? Most people think the difference between a gambler and a winner is luck. But the truth? It's math. And the math is terrifying if you don't respect it. We see the flashing lights and the big win notifications. But what the casinos and those hype-filled streams don't show you is the engine under the hood. It's called RNG and RTP. These systems aren't designed to be fair. They are designed to be addictive. They are engineered to make you lose track of time, and worse, lose track of the value of money. You stop seeing $100 as grocery money and start seeing it as just one more spin. The biggest danger isn't losing, it's winning. Because when you win early, you think you've cracked the code. You ignore bankroll management, you ignore the odds. And when the inevitable loss comes, you don't stop, you chase. That urge to win it back? That's not determination. That is the algorithm working exactly as intended. At Kalstrop, we built our entire ecosystem on one principle: transparency. We believe in data, not delusions. We want you to understand the numbers so you never fall for the manipulation. But today, we aren't going to look at charts. We're going to look at human lives. We went into the deep end of Reddit. We filtered out the noise and found 8 real, unverified, but painfully relatable stories. From realizing that a family dinner costs less than a single second on a slot machine, to losing a year's savings in one night of panic. This isn't about judging them. It's about learning from them before it happens to you. Let's read. We organized these 8 stories to show you the complete life cycle of a gambler. We start with the realization of what money actually means, move to the trap of the big win, analyze the psychological loop, and end with the true cost of addiction. Let's start with the first realization. This isn't about losing millions. It's about understanding how gambling distorts the value of a dollar. Here is a user who realized that a single second of a spin costs as much as an entire afternoon of family happiness. Spent $80 for my whole family to bowl for 3 hours, arcade and food, and that would have been 1 second on a slot machine. So today I took my boyfriend and my son out to bowl. 3 games with shoes was $25, about $15 for an arcade card that had 200 credits, which entertained my toddler for 45 minutes. Another $40 on food, which included cheeseburger and fries combo, a big large pizza, and 12 teriyaki wings. On top of that, my toddler played both me and my boyfriend games for 50 bowls. And out of that $40, I left a tip for $8 for a $32 food bill. So everybody was happy. 3 hours of family fun to compare it to 1 second of a spin on a slot or 1 hand of blackjack. Just to show that money can buy you so much when you are not literally wasting it at a casino or any forms of gambling. This is what we call the dopamine disconnect. Casinos and slots are designed to make money feel abstract. Credits, tokens, digital numbers. They detach you from the reality of labor. Think about it. In the casino, $80 disappears in a blink, consumed by the house edge and volatility. But in the real world, that same $80 bought 3 hours of genuine memory and connection. If you are trying to quit gambling, is it better to focus on what you lost or on what that money could actually buy you in the real world? This user woke up from the trance. Most people never do. Now, let's move to the second category. We call this the trap and the crash. We have 2 stories here that prove a terrifying truth. The worst thing that can happen to a beginner is winning. Because when you win early, your brain stops fearing the risk. This first story isn't about greed. It's about how quickly a year of discipline can be erased by 1 moment of euphoria. I saved $6,000 over a year to buy a car. Today, I won $10,000 gambling. and then lost everything. I don't even know how to process what just happened. I've been saving for almost a year. Every dirham counted. I sacrificed so many things just to reach that $6,000 goal. I wanted to buy a car, not for fun, because I needed it, but for life, for work. Then today, out of nowhere, I decided to gamble a little. Small amounts, nothing crazy. And just like that, I won $10,000. It felt unreal. I had $16,000 in my account. I was on top of the world. I called my friends. I called my family. Everyone was so happy for me. We talked about buying the car today. I even planned to buy gifts for people. Just a pure, happy moment. One of those rare moments in life where you feel like maybe things are finally going your way. Then tonight, I got stupid. I told myself I'd just try with $1,000, just to see. It won't change anything, I thought. I lost it. I panicked. I chased the loss. And I kept chasing and chasing until the entire $10,000 was gone. Then I touched the $6,000 I had saved over a year. The one thing I swore I'd never touch. And I lost that too. It's 4 a.m. right now and I haven't stopped crying. I'm shaking. I feel sick. I've thrown up twice. I have nothing left. Not just money, hope, self-respect. I feel ashamed. I feel like I destroyed something I'll never get back. I don't know how to face my family. I feel like I've disappointed everyone who believed in me. I just want to disappear. This is the psychological phenomenon known as the house money effect. When he won that $10,000, his brain didn't register it as his money yet. He treated it as free money to play with. But the moment he lost it, the panic set in. And in that panic, logic disappears. If you are trying to chase a loss, you are not investing, you are spiraling. But what happens if the win is even bigger? If you think a massive jackpot would solve all your problems, listen to this next story. This user won $80,000, and it didn't save him, it destroyed him. Don't be like me, you still have a chance. I am 28 years old. I live in Australia and I am a gambling addict. I have always gambled a little, but it never got out of control until March 2021, 1 year ago. Before then, I had savings, a great job, great friends, great family. Life was really looking up for me. Then I won 80,000 Australian dollars one day. That $80,000 I gambled away in 3 days. I then continued to go through all $50,000 I had in savings, took out $60,000 in debt in credit cards and loans, borrowed $20,000 from friends and family, and have basically blown through my salary for the last year. In a year, I have lost between $250,000 to $300,000. It isn't just the monetary losses. I have lost all my close friends. My family want nothing to do with me. I have tried to end my life 3 times and failed every one of those. Lost my job and had been kicked out of 3 places I lived in, so homeless many of times, and I still turned to gambling. I turned to fraudulent ways to obtain money and now have 3 court cases I am dealing with. There is a good chance that I will serve time in jail for this and have a criminal record. Gambling has well and truly destroyed my life. I have destroyed my life. I went from being a well-respected software developer and a fantastic friend and family man to being a degenerate that has lost the will to live. The cards are not in my favor going forward, but I will keep pressing forward and trying to make a life for myself. I will die trying in that pursuit. My hope from this post is that it connects with someone and inspires them to take a different path in life and turn away from gambling. I had plenty of opportunities to take a different route in life, but I just kept going down a bad path in life. I have a mountain to climb if I make it that far. But please, if you are in a deep, dark place with gambling, grab it by the balls and tell it to fuck off. Then take command of your life. This is the paradox of the big win. A massive win early in your gambling career acts like an anchor. Your brain resets its baseline. Suddenly, a regular paycheck feels boring. Saving money feels too slow. You become rewired to crave the volatility, not the money itself. Winning that $80,000 wasn't a gift. It was the fuel that burned his entire life down. We are now moving into the third category, the cycle and the mindset. This isn't just about the act of betting. It's about the internal monologue, the lies we tell ourselves to justify the next spin. We have 3 stories here that expose the mental traps: the false promise of quitting, the conspiracy theories we invent to explain losses, and the dangerous line between investing and gambling. First, let's talk about the biggest lie in gambling. I will stop when I win. This story shows perfectly why the finish line never actually exists. I'll stop if I win big enough. I've walked away so many times after a decent-sized win. It goes like this. Wow, I deposited $200 and I've made $5,000 in 1 hour. That's an easy cash out. Look at all these degenerate losers online. They probably would have lost it all tonight. The next day, I have an extra $5,000 I didn't have yesterday. Think of what we could turn this into. Holidays, months off work, new car. Well, that $1,000 went fast. Let's double that back and make that at least $2,000 on top. Okay, down $2,000, but I didn't even have this much yesterday. Big bets now. They took it fast. I'll make it back just as fast. And it's gone. And I've gone into savings. And I'm transferring money from an account I really am not supposed to touch till retirement. This is what we call the moving goalpost. When you lose, you chase to get back to zero. But when you win, you don't cash out. You unconsciously raise your bets because you view the winnings as a tool to win more, not as money to keep. If you are trying to win enough, you will never stop, because enough is an emotion, not a number. Next, we have a user who is convinced the system is cheating him. Instead of accepting the math, he creates a conspiracy to make sense of the chaos. I swear all online slots are scams. People try to be smart and say they're not rigged. It's just bad luck and they're random. But after gambling regularly for 4 years, explain me how in the fuck is it possible that in every single online casino, all winning almost stops for good after relatively big win? There's no way it's a coincidence when it's guaranteed to happen and has happened to me every single time. Let's say I play with €1 bets. I keep getting small 20-cent wins and occasional €3 to €8 ones, some odd €14 to €20. But if I win €80, or if I reach whatever the site considers too much of winning, I only see those 20-cent to €1 wins. And no matter what game I play or how long, I keep losing very fast. And I have 2 things to back this up. It doesn't matter how many spins you play after the site decides you got enough. I believe we all have seen it, how suddenly you just know you can't win anymore, even if you do literally 100 spins, yet keep losing. I have tested this by lowering my bet to 10 cent when I realized I reached the fuck you mode on a site, and actually did do close to 100 spins, and as you guessed, all gone, practically no wins. After site decides you can't no longer win, you can, and I bet we all have, put as much money in and see it all gone. Likely the biggest reason why we lose so much, when we chase the losses after site decides you can't win anymore. You know when you hit scatters or free spins soon after playing, you always know you win at least decently? If you haven't been winning much or haven't played for too long in that session, you always win from those. Always. But get those scatters in the previously mentioned fuck you mode? Barely get your bet back. If I use 80-cent bet when the site is still being fair, I get anywhere from €30 to €90, depending on the game, every time. But getting the scatter after winning too much or winning big once, and I get practically nothing. For example, yesterday I played with €2 bet, hit maximum scatter, and I was expecting to win something when I got 14 free spins. Guess what happened? I won €3. with 14 fucking free spins. Not the first time this happened. Seen it on multiple sites. Play for too long or win too much, whatever the too much is. And even with free spins, you get nothing. I know this sounds me being just bitter, but I genuinely believe there's cheating going on at online gambling. My theory is that all sites are using some loophole or trick to get away with this. Like, let's say all games have really low chance of winning more than half of your bet per spin, but algorithm is designed to boost your odds so you can actually win. It calculates how much you have lost and won, and keeps account of your gambling habits like your bet, do you lose your winning, etc., and removes your boosted winning odds at certain period. Anyways, fuck gambling. This is a classic case of the gambler's fallacy and pattern recognition. The human brain is wired to find patterns where none exist. He believes there is a switch the casino flips, but the reality is colder. It's just RTP and variance. The slot machine doesn't know who you are, it just executes math. But believing it's a scam is often a defense mechanism. It's easier to be angry at a rigged system than to accept that you are fighting a mathematical impossibility. Finally, for this section, we have to address that gambling isn't just about casinos. This next story is from someone who thought he was an investor, but was actually just a gambler in a suit. How do I stop this cycle? 26-year-old male. I had been trading stocks, options, crypto futures since 2019 and experienced the curse of massive gains in the beginning, to the point where I could have had financial freedom to be set for life in 2021. As I started to lose everything, I have tried everything to stop. Therapy, deleting social media, triggers, medication, deleting accounts, handing over finances to my partner, etc. But there is always this voice in my head telling me that if I try one more time, I can do it again, and it can fix everything. I would then trade again with money I can't afford to lose, being fully aware of what always happens. Gains were temporary, and I would eventually lose it all and more. The most frustrating part is that I know this always happens, but I end up finding a way to lose it all again. I have now managed to rack up around $60,000 in debt, struggling every day with guilt and shame, and I am sick of disappointing people around me. I try to accept that the money is gone, but I can't stop looking at the markets and still feel FOMO every day. The fact that I have set my life back by decades torments me every day. How can I get out of this cycle? This is the illusion of control. In a casino, deep down, you know it's luck. But in stocks or crypto, you convince yourself it's skill. That makes the addiction even harder to break, because you aren't just losing money, you are losing your ego. He calls it trading, but looking for a fix with money you can't afford to lose? That is the very definition of gambling. We have arrived at the final and most painful category: destruction and shame. This is where the fun stops completely. We aren't talking about losing money anymore. We are talking about losing trust, losing family, and losing the person you used to be. These two stories show the ultimate price of addiction. First, we have a 21-year-old. He hasn't lost millions, but the weight of his shame is just as heavy. It's about stealing trust from the one person who should matter most. Day 1. Just got paid 1,200 euros. Oh, my mom. 600 euros because she gave me a loan for Christmas presents. I spent that on gambling as well, and I'm taking it out of my savings. I've now lost my whole 2 weeks' wages. It's 4:53 a.m. I don't know how to break it to her again that I've gambled yet again. I really need to quit this time. All of my gambling is online. I've never stood foot in a bookies. I wouldn't even know how to place a bet there. But it's so easy to gamble online. Quick deposits and the changes of odds in game make me bet. I bet from soccer to table tennis is that mad. I really don't know what to do. I'm already 5,000 in debt and I'm 21. I do have 1,300 in a savings account that I can't touch because it's a 7-day withdrawal thing before I can access it, and that seems to work, but in a matter of minutes I've lost over 1.2 thousand. Again, I should have transferred to that account M. It's a constant cycle. It's not about the money I know if you give me 1 million right now, I'd still find a way to gamble. I've worked in 3 hours and I have just gambled it all. What do? Do I go cash only and delete all banking apps? This is the reality of accessibility. He mentions he's never set foot in a real betting shop. The danger today is that the casino is in your pocket, 24/7. The friction is gone. And when you gamble with a screen, you dissociate from the fact that you are gambling away your mother's trust. The shame of owing his mom 600 euros hurts more than the debt itself. And finally, we have the most devastating story of all. A man who lost $250,000 but realized too late that the money was the least valuable thing he lost. This is day 0 for me. Here's my story. This is day 0 for me. If you make it to the end of this, thank you. This is where I'm at now. I have lost over $250,000 in total and am $20,000 in debt. More importantly, I lost my wife and now only see my son 3 days a week. This is how I got here. I slowly developed a sports betting addiction over the last 5 years. It started small. I wagered $100 maximum on a single bet, and I would panic if I was in the red at all. For years, I was in the black, about $8,000 at most. I was thoughtful and researched almost every wager. Then I went on a really bad losing streak. I generally kept my wife in the loop on how I was doing. I told her that I had lost a lot of the profit I'd made and that I wanted to make a big bet to try to get it back. Since it was all profit at that point, she didn't care. I put $1,000 on the Washington Capitals to beat the St. Louis Blues at minus 120 or so. This was the year STL was dead last, and then went on a crazy run and won the Stanley Cup. That bet lost. I didn't immediately spiral into massive risky bets, but betting soon took over my life to an unfathomable degree. It dominated my thoughts the way my wife used to when we first met. I literally couldn't stop thinking about it. I hated that I had lost so much and needed to get it back. In the next period of my life, I was constantly on my phone checking scores. At this point, I had stopped telling my wife what I was doing. I told her I needed to check my phone in order to stay up to the minute for my job, which is sports-related. Predictably, my addiction destroyed my marriage. I won't go into much detail, but suffice it to say I was an absolute shit partner and father for years. My attention was never on my wife and son, at least not fully. My wife eventually came to feel very differently about me and demanded I leave our house. That was about 2 years ago. It should have been a turning point, and in some ways it was. I sought psychiatric help for depression and acknowledged what an asshole I had been. The antidepressants definitely had an impact. It was like slowly coming out of a coma. I couldn't quite believe how awful I had been to the people I loved the most. I slowed down my betting a little and got considerably better at hiding my phone. But I didn't stop. My wife and I tried to reconcile during quarantine. It was a disaster. We were both trying to work from home with our young child. She was confronted 24/7 with a person who had, at worst, traumatized her and, at best, completely neglected her for the better part of a decade. I was supposed to be the one person she could always trust and rely on, and I had turned into a fraud. Even though I was slowly starting to return to better mental health, I couldn't undo the emotional damage I had inflicted. There was no going back. Eventually, she said she didn't love me anymore and wanted a divorce. This fucking destroyed me. I don't know if I have the words to express how deeply I loved this woman. Here is the best I can do. For most of my life, nothing frightened me more than my own death. There were nights when my existential dread kept me awake until sunrise. I would have gone to the gallows for her without hesitation. I would have wrapped the noose around my own neck and pulled the lever if she needed me to. When she told me she wanted a divorce, I moved out for good and started betting non-stop. It's a miracle I didn't get fired. I was so unproductive during the day. If I wasn't betting, I was thinking about the fact that I would never be her partner again. I was thinking about her sleeping with someone else. I didn't want to be alive anymore. It took me about 6 months to rack up $50,000 worth of debt and lose about $65,000 in total. Eventually, I broke down and told my parents about the hole I had dug for myself. They were surprised, but are also very understanding. They knew the emotional toll losing my family had taken on me. They lent me some money to at least pay off my credit card. A few months ago, our divorce was finalized, and I acquired about $175,000 from the sale of our home. I paid off my existing debts and had about $125,000 in the bank. My dad, smartly, said he thought I should put the money in a joint account with him, one where we would both have to sign off before money could be withdrawn. I told him I wasn't a gambling addict. I told him I had chased my losses because I was hyper-competitive and couldn't stand losing, but that I had learned from past mistakes. I am a gambling addict, and I hadn't learned anything. I have lost every penny and more. I started making max bets on whatever betting sites I hadn't excluded myself from in moments of clarity. Much like the day my wife asked me to leave our home, I am sitting here in disbelief about what I have done. Losing all of my money is an awful feeling, but what I did to the woman I loved is far worse. Gambling didn't only turn me into a different person, it indirectly turned her into a different person as well. She loved me, she trusted me, she needed me, and I wasn't there for her during the most difficult years of her life. The toll that takes on a person is immense. She bears little resemblance to the optimistic, compassionate, unflinchingly principled woman she used to be. Now, I feel more like a widower than a divorcee. I don't consider myself overly smart or overly skilled. I'm pretty average in almost every way, shape, and form. The one area I think I may be anomalous is determination. I'm not sure how many days I have left on this planet, but I am going to spend every single one of them trying to be the person my wife thought I was. Quitting gambling is step 1. This is the total eclipse of the self. He says it himself. He wasn't there. Gambling consumes your mental bandwidth until there is no room left for love, for parenting, or for empathy. He lost the money, yes, but the real tragedy is that he lost the time he can never buy back. When you look at these 8 stories, from the broken car savings to the broken marriage, you realize they all share one common thread: manipulation. None of these people set out to destroy their lives. They were led there. If they had been taught how RTP and RNG actually function from day one, they would have realized a hard truth. You cannot beat a slot machine. It is mathematically impossible to win in the long run. But instead of facts, social media feeds you fake wins and meaningless jackpots, selling you a dream that doesn't exist. For the sports bettors, the tragedy comes from chasing a fantasy. If they had learned proper bankroll management and how to analyze data like a professional, they wouldn't be chasing losses, they would be executing a plan. Let me be very clear. Even at kalstrop, with massive investments in high-end prediction models, a realistic, successful return on investment is around 10%, not 1,000%, 10. If these users had known that real success is slow and boring, they wouldn't have ruined their lives chasing a miracle. Gambling is as old as humanity itself. It isn't going anywhere. But think of it like a weapon. In the hands of a conscious, educated person, it can be handled safely. In the hands of the unconscious, it is a tool for suicide. At kalstrop, we stand firmly against user manipulation. We are here to tell you the truth that the industry hides. There is no force on this earth that can guarantee you millions overnight. If someone tells you otherwise, they are lying. Don't be a victim of the algorithm. Educate yourself, stay conscious, and never, ever bet what you cannot afford to lose.